Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
And now, Tim Dillon is going to hell with Tim Dillon and Ray Kump.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tim Dillon is Going to Hell, special episode, the Amazon moving into Long Island City episode. I'm joined here with Ray Kump, my co-host.
Thank you.
Dan St. Germain is here.
Hey, good to be back.
Here's what's happening, folks. We woke up. We got the news officially that Amazon is splitting its second headquarters, known as HQ2, in two locations. One is Virginia. One is Long Island City, which is, I live in Astoria, which is very close to Long Island City. Each headquarters is going to have 25,000 new workers who will earn about $150,000 a year. This is not...
That's the average.
Yeah, the average salary will be about 150. High-skilled labor jobs, right? I mean, this is big. This is, you know...
Someone might make 80, someone might make 300. Well, that's the thing. I mean, Amazon's the kind of place where you can make $5 million.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, what's the
but
low
this
end?
is not going to be low-skilled labor, factory work.
Oh, no.
Right? From what it's looking like here. With an average salary of $150,000 a year, I can't imagine that. If you don't know anything about Long Island City, it's the westernmost part of Queens. It's basically facing the east side of Manhattan, right by the 59th Street Bridge. It was an industrial area, and it's had a ton of real estate development recently. It's got beautiful views in New York.
Known for the City Group building? City Corp?
Yeah, there's a big Citigroup building there. They've been there a long time, and Pepsi Cola has that big sign there.
Wonderful sign.
And yeah, it's a lot of vacant space. So Amazon is coming in. So one of the reasons I thought it'd be a fun episode to do today is because we talk a lot about, it's a local show. One of the reasons that a lot of our people that listen are from New York, they're from Long Island, they understand. And if you're not, you'll still enjoy the show. But there's all these big changes that come through New York that we always talk about in hindsight. We always go, well, this is what, you know, this is
right.
the way the city was. This is actually something that is literally, we're going to see it happen pretty rapidly if this all happens the way that it's supposed to. And I thought it'd be interesting to kind of hash it out. What do you guys think about it just on its face?
I think it's a good amount of jobs. I mean, it's hard to say what I think about it. I would have no opinion, really. I would just normally be like, But the opposition to it kind of, you know, it confuses me.
Ray's angling for a job.
Yeah.
Bezos, make me a fixer.
So the opposition confuses you. Explain, because I agree. I think a lot of the opposition makes great points.
Well, I mean, the idea about the cultural displacement, how Queens is like the most multicultural, you know, small part of a city anywhere. Yeah, no, like I don't have an answer for that, and that's kind of something that we have to reconcile with capitalism. But all the other stuff, like, why are you giving, like, you know, $2 billion in tax credit to this company? The reality is, I mean, we talk about the ethics of this on a more global, like, you know, federal, whatever, capitalism level. But the reality is, there was a bidding war for 2 years or whatever amount of years. Like, there was 20 cities who were in, like, in the running for it even. Like, more, I'm sure more wanted these places. I mean, they were a little unethical. I think for, like, you know, a year they were having this whole, like, it was between New York and West Virginia. Maybe not a year, but for a while it was like that. And it was kind of a bidding war. I think they were bidding each other down on the price or how much credit, you know, tax credit you're going to get. And at the end, they're like, we're going to split the difference, which is kind of slimy.
Yeah.
You know, but as far as like, well, why are we giving all this money to them? We're losing revenue. It's like, that's money you wouldn't have had anyway. Like, they wouldn't have come if you didn't give them the tax credit. So it's not like there's a bunch of other companies looking to put this amount of jobs into the Long Island City.
I think the concern with the entire project, a lot of it has to do with, number one, Amazon has promised to put a lot of money into infrastructure.
Sure.
Now, whether that happens or not, I don't think it's enough, because every new subway station in New York costs $4 billion. I didn't know that.
Right.
Every new subway station costs about $4 billion.
What tax credit are they getting? How much?
I think it says here about 1.5 billion tax credits. It's saying real estate developers have rapidly built up Long Island City in recent years, and local leaders promised $1.5 billion in subsidies and tax breaks to attract Amazon.
Yeah, I've heard as high as $2 billion even.
Yeah.
They're offering, I think, 1.5 in infrastructure back, or like part of that is they'll pay for things in lieu of taxes.
My
maybe
thing is the subway doesn't work right now.
No.
Right.
It doesn't work. Rush hour
Thank God that one guy
subways
fucking resigned.
is stretched. You know, it's really stretched, and you're going to. There's going to be a new influx of people into the area.
Yeah.
Forget, the cost of living argument is an argument that is an important argument. You have all of the cultural arguments about the direction of Queens and everything like that. What about just the plain argument about you're putting stress on the infrastructure that may not be able to handle, and it's just going to be a mob scene on all of those trains, rush hour
How many
trains.
jobs are we talking about?
25,000, 30,000.
That's like a blip, though.
It's not a lot, and they're all, and a lot of them,
That's
they're
like a blip.
Yeah.
And then
But if
what,
it's a-
you see they bring like maybe 3 people each, like if you
But I think a lot of people think
two
this
people.
is just the beginning. It starts to expand. Amazon brings more people there. There's other companies that now
if there's
come
money there. It's like Google. Like they'll find fucking, like where they have now in San Francisco, where they have the Google basically buses that bring people to that,
Yeah,
I
company.
think reality
So
is
they'll figure it out if they're gonna
yeah.
Just throwing
bring
that
that kind of money there.
No, yeah, totally. But they're throwing out that $4 billion number, that's a new station when you have it's got to be hard to build a new station in New York City with all the permits and this and that, and you have to dig into the ground in New York City. But I don't think they need more stations per se. They need to just fix the infrastructure of the
They
train
need more
they have.
fucking trains.
More trains, yeah. Which I don't know if the repairs that would be warranted would cost $4 billion. But the reality is, if they're offering $1.5 billion to do it, it's not. It's the job of the city to have a functional.
Here's the
it's
thing.
not-
You go to I go to my psychiatrist on the Upper East Side, very wealthy area.
Yeah.
Train station there is immaculate.
Sure. Right.
You get off there, it's immaculate.
Right.
So I'm sure the train station near that, it's like the Barclays Center, is going to look incredible.
Sure.
Even though the Barclays was shutting down like crazy.
Well, I
this
think
summer.
one of a couple of the reasons that Amazon gave for this, or the people that were kind of somewhat in the know gave, maybe unofficially or officially, was that. They wanted a place that was friendly to gay people. They didn't want a conservative southern city. They wanted a
Right.
place where they could attract talent, considerably easily. And, Cornell has their tech campus right on Roosevelt Island, which is a few minutes from where Amazon's headquarters are.
Yeah.
And then obviously New York City has historically been a place where the most talented people in the world go. They wanted a place where they had the existing infrastructure to bring in all of these. But as somebody who's watched a lot of these changes happen in New York City, and as somebody who lives in Queens, and I see Queens as the last holdout of mom and pop stores, small businesses, families. And it is kind of depressing to know if it becomes a major tech hub, the chances of any of that stuff, any of the character of the area hanging on are very low.
It's hard to figure out how with
Do you think Jackson Heights becomes like Williamsburg or some shit?
I don't know about Jackson Heights, but I mean Astoria, all of these areas.
Greenpoint, Greenpoint's not
Yeah.
quite as chic, but whatever. But it's still got the same,
mean,
higher. I mean, here's part of the thing. Part of the thing is this: you have. It's not about how much money you dump into the city's coffers. It's not that's not going to help that much. We all know the just latent corruption. I'm not talking about big stuff, but it's not that efficient. The idea is look, you got a bunch of people who are making 150 grand or about 100 grand, 200 grand. It's not we talk about that's not a tremendous amount in New York City.
Right.
That's the kind of money these people aren't necessarily just going to be going to Maria and high level restaurants. These people are going to be going to the local restaurants
Half
and
of
local.
half of the
Yeah.
families in Queens make $60,000 a year. Half of them are immigrants.
No, you're saying they're making
Right.
more money, but
Yeah.
these people have more disposable income for the local businesses. I mean, you think they're not going to go to the corner store? I mean, maybe the corner stores will start offering
because
more.
it's a different kind of people.
Well,
It's
it
not.
just-
They
No,
don't.
the corner stores will start catering.
I mean, it
and-
really
and-
just depends if it's rent controlled, right?
I mean, the reality is,
that's
if you,
gonna be the reality.
The reality is, a lot of these people are going to be fucking tech pros. It's just different kind of people. People that are making 150 grand a year, cloud analysts doing fucking yoga in Williamsburg.
Right.
No, they're not going to patronize the local fucking businesses. They're going to have their own business. That's why fucking Brooklyn sucks now. That's
Dude,
why
it's,
every
it's
fucking
crazy being. We've been
Yeah.
here in Williamsburg 4 years, going back to Williamsburg
Yeah,
now. I'm like, how could this
Dude,
turn even more into an Apple store?
It's Soho. It's gross. It's disgusting, and it's coming. And I mean, I don't know that you can stop it, but I'm allowed to be upset about it. I'm not
No,
going to
it's-
celebrate.
I'm not happy about it either.
The fucking disgusting.
We should just turn Camden into the new Queens.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
with Trenton, I think it was, or Newark, I think offered them $8 billion or $5 billion. So
They were, Newark was on the table.
Yeah.
And so here's the other thing, which is funny because the real estate.
It's funny that Newark offered them more tax credits.
Yeah, a lot
We're like,
more.
yeah, we're good.
double.
We're good.
Well, here's the other thing is that real estate in Long Island City. If you've driven in and out of Manhattan, you've seen these towers that are being built, and I think they've added like 16,000, 17,000 units in the past 5-10 years, and then there's another 9,000 on the way, or maybe another 11,000.
It's the fastest growing as far as that kind of stuff.
Market for luxury condos and stuff like that. And the biggest spike in the first few days after the Amazon news, Street Easy, the website, said that their residential property traffic jumped more than 400%. Their searches. So like real estate agents are closing deals.
Oh shit.
They're closing deals immediately. They're getting text messages saying, "Let's just snatch these condos up. Let's do it." Because this is, and I have friends. I spoke to a friend of mine who lived in San Francisco, and he goes, because I said, I'm like, nobody's gonna be living in my shithole apartment. He's like, "You're wrong. They will." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "They're going to live in hovels." He goes, "If I show you the hovels that people living in San Fran for fucking $6,000 a month," he's like, "you will be shocked."
My ex-girlfriend went to Google and she had to live with some like old woman in a guest room.
Well, that's what he said. He goes,
worked at Google.
"You can't." Now it's going to take probably a few years to see the full effect of this, but he goes, and landlords in Queens are going to start raising rents next year to start preparing.
Yeah, I mean, look,
it is wild. It's just wild to me because one of the reasons I love Astoria is I walk around and I look at businesses that are owned by people that were cooking that type of food or in the country that they came from. This doesn't exist in Manhattan. It's been completely driven out of New York City. There's very few first-time businesses from first-generation immigrants in Manhattan. There are very few. And I look at them in Astoria.
El Cortile, and that's about it.
Yeah, there's a few of them. But it's just, to me, it's kind of like, how do you reconcile that? How do you have a capitalist system that just doesn't cannibalize that stuff? It's somewhat difficult.
It's a baffling question because I mean, I don't even know if you're meaning well. What do you put in let's assume that's what our goal is.
Commercial rent control has been talked about.
Commercial rent control.
That is something that's been thrown out there. I know nothing about it.
Okay, so basically the existing businesses
how
don't
effective
have to,
because I've been gone from New York for 4 years. How effective has de Blasio been in being like, we're going to stabilize rent in New York City?
At all?
I don't think he has been.
He hasn't been at all, right? And that was one of his big things coming in, right?
Well, I think
everybody says the MTA, but the MTA is fucked every time. So.
Well, I think what they try to do is build affordable units, and I think there are probably more affordable units that have being built, but I think the problem is if you continue to allow foreign buyers with blood money to come in and launder it through apartments in New York, the market bears no relation to who's living here and why they're living here. It's pretty much a global market where real estate is being used as just a tool to kind of launder filthy money, and it's in London, it's in New York. These cities are just global destinations for capital.
I mean, we've talked about before. You mentioned for instance Bloomberg and how he wants to lure billionaires in. He did lure billionaires in. Yeah, the real estate's owned by all these foreign, it's foreign speculation, or just use them as a bank basically. So it's not that I don't get. It's just like they've committed to what this city is going to be,
right?
And it's kind of too late to start quibbling about. Well, there's still a few falafel shops. No, we're all fucked.
I agree with you. I'm just saying very much, and it's a very personal thing, only because I fucking live there, and I'm aware of how cunty that sounds too. To just be like, well, now it's affecting me,
right?
But it really is depressing because Queens really is it. I mean, there's a few places, Greenpoint, in Brooklyn, there's some West Indian stuff in Flatbush that's still really cool. But as far as a city that was cool or exciting, New York City has become a very serene corporate environment that is just really about this group of people, this upwardly mobile young professionals. It's thrown out all the fucking artists.
Right.
The immigrants are going, and it's just suburban. It's becoming a suburban city, and it saddens me.
I mean, reality is that time we talk about that we romanticize a little bit. We know it was junkies and disgusting also, but it also came on the heels of New York City going bankrupt,
sure.
In the late 60s, early 70s.
But there's always been rich people here, so no matter how bad it was, there's always been a fair amount of
people everywhere.
Right.
No, right. My point though is that this time when the reason I don't know in the course of normal New York City history if the kind of artists that we think about with the Lou Reed era or whatever the fuck, were these people in St. Mark's, if that would have been as accessible to them if it wasn't coming on the heels of economic despair of the past decade.
Well, I'm
not sure that's a normal thing for a major city like that to have. I think
one of the reasons that you see the rise of nationalism all over the globe and you see the rise of people like Donald Trump is because there are people that are getting displaced and they are very nervous about the direction of, basically They live in an economic infrastructure they can't understand. They don't understand why people from all over the world are able to buy up property, not with their own name, with a fake sham corporation they set up to do so. They don't understand why these people are able to route profits from businesses offshore so that they don't pay any taxes. It feels to them like the game is completely rigged in favor of insanely wealthy plutocrats. And I think the problem is when you start talking about handing trillions of dollars to Amazon, people start going, well, wait a minute, the infrastructure's fucked, healthcare is a problem, there's all these other issues that aren't fixed, and why are we luring a company that's going to benefit primarily wealthy people?
What is the benefit? Like, I'm not even saying, like, you know, the people, like, to Cuomo, to de Blasio. Is it just prestige? Is it just like...
Well, it's that. I think they do believe... I mean, listen, I understand why you'd want a company like Amazon in Long Island City. I understand why. Because here's the deal. High-end real estate prices are softening. They've been softening for a few years. It is an artificially pumped up market. There's been a lack of companies. You know, a lot of things are moving out of New York. The taxes are very high. Movies are being shot in Atlanta now. We're losing a few different things. So I think a company like Amazon coming here, I completely understand why they want good jobs and good wages and all of that. I understand that.
And reality is, if Amazon's going to be here, other people are going to be here too.
Like, just put it in Brooklyn. Leave me alone.
New York, New York is not a city for New Yorkers anymore.
Right.
It hasn't really been since Giuliani has taken office.
Yeah.
You know, when he was like, let's fucking Disneyfy Times Square. That was it.
Yeah.
It was over then. But a lot of those people were getting stabbed. Yeah. You know, so that's a plus. But like, this is a worldwide city.
Right.
You know, this is not
global. City.
This is not the capital of the United States. This is the capital of the world.
If you're younger than us, like it might not be as resonant. But the idea of New Yorkers was still when we were kids in the '80s. It's like kind of a nebulous thing. I mean, I guess there's a lot of Italians and Irish, you know, originally, but it's more like that streetwise anger kind of being pricks, that whole, like, which is not, I'm not saying like that.
Smart, tough people that knew how to survive.
Right. And like there was an identity to that and a kind of shared kind of camaraderie to it, even though we all like people all hate each other at the same time. There was a kind of mutual respect probably to it. It's like an unspoken thing, and I don't want to romanticize it too much. But that's also been lost. Like the idea. I mean, it's a joke now to even talk about like being afraid of sitting unless you go in like Brownsville or something. One of his and even that he walked through. It's totally different than it was 20 years ago. So it's like there is the identity's already been squashed.
So from the conservative angle, David Angelo, who's a conservative writer at The Daily Show, tweeted today. He goes, I'm glad my tax dollars are being put to good use building yoga studios for cloud analysts. You know, and so the conservative critique is like you're taking all these tax dollars and you're making an area more palatable for these, you know, essentially this tech contingent of people.
Well, again, though, but like, here's the thing: I get the other idea of its impact on the infrastructure.
Yeah,
but this idea we're not giving. In some way,
how crowded can a city get? That's another question.
Right. Well, I mean, sure, but I'm saying the idea that we're giving we're not giving tax dollars to any. We are in some abstract way, but like if we didn't give them this, they wouldn't be here. So there wouldn't be tax money going to the government, whether we gave them the break or not of this amount.
Do you think we're gonna get to the point where they're gonna have like China? People are just gonna start like shoveling people into subways.
Well, they do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. China. You've never seen those YouTube videos?
Those YouTube videos.
It is crazy.
That would be helpful sometimes.
That's where
I wouldn't mind. I would like sometimes someone to help shove me in, so I wouldn't feel guilty about doing it myself. You know, there's a small girl in front of me. I'm crushing her. It's like, hey, it's not me, honey.
By the way, Jeff Bezos sees that. Amazon's pulling out. They see Ray Kump getting shoved in a subway car. Bezos is like,
imagine you're a small girl, like tech girl from like at Cornell going to Amazon first day, and then you just see like,
I'm so sorry,
getting pushed at like push. I can't help this. You know,
Bezos is like, well, what did Newark offer? $8 billion. Look, see, there we go. This is getting people in the trains.
This is great.
In Tokyo, Japan. This is how.
Oh, Tokyo,
this is in Japan.
Yeah, this is how crowded it is.
Okay.
Well, Tokyo, like Manhattan, it's a finite amount of land.
Sure, but they also, from what I gather, a much bigger infrastructure.
Look how clean that fucking train.
It looks great. I mean, here's the thing: all of those countries have much better infrastructure than we do. They have bullet trains, fast trains, high-speed trains.
Don't misinterpret this as me wanting more terrorism. I'm not saying that at all. But this is part of the there's a problem. But when we fight wars and no one bombs us, but we bomb them, they get to rebuild, and we don't get to that.
That's a great point. We have a legacy system that they didn't have because it was destroyed, and then we don't have the political will to change anything until we absolutely. I sat and I waited.
How insane is it? Like, how insane has it been that there? Because I was just reading about that 2009 subway attack. The one that was thwarted or whatever. It was like 2008, 2009. It is like knock on wood that we fucking haven't had a subway attack.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a testament that look, there are great law enforcement people out there.
NYPD is the counterintelligence community,
very
is only second to like fucking Tel Aviv. You know?
Right.
No, they're very good at what they do, and they take it very seriously. I've known people involved in it. And
I appreciate that the FBI has not attacked this city in the last 10 years.
Yeah,
I really want to say that.
It's been
Thank
a relief.
you. Let's thank the FBI for not recruiting informants who then actually bomb something.
But it's also,
Great.
I think it's a testament on some level to
how hyped the threat was.
Exactly.
How overblown this whole threat was.
You'll hear, I know like guys whose dads were like, in the police system, and like they weren't like, NYPD like, chief lieutenant, but they were guys like captains of other stuff on Long Island or whatever, and like they would get reports though. If you're involved in that level, you get reports. And like, oh, you if you saw what I was seeing in my day, there's a lot of shit going. Yeah, but like they're sending this to you on purpose. Like there's an interest of Homeland Security to like it's someone's job to find threats.
Well, we had John Kiriakou on, the CIA agent who exposed the torture program. He was on this program and he said the presidential daily.
Was a big get.
Yeah, he was great, and he said and then he was ran over on his scooter 2 months later. Right?
It was 2 months?
Was it 2 weeks? I think it was 2 weeks.
Did he die?
No, he's fine. But 2 weeks later, he was hit on his. He was talking a lot of shit here about Saudi Arabia and everything.
Oh, sure.
And he got hit on a scooter 2 weeks later. So.
I don't know, man. You're driving a scooter.
I agree. I think he should have been killed. But the point is that he said that the presidential daily threat matrix, which is really after 9/11, this became a thing. They would just stuff it with anything.
But you don't think that there's going to be some and then now we're kind of getting off the Amazon thing, so I don't know how far we want to get off it.
We can get
but you don't think like the State Department being gutted in this past 2 years, you don't think that's going to have any effect on
not with terrorism? Because
what extent has it been maybe I've missed these articles.
I mean, a lot of the
career guys left. You mean
a lot of the career guys left, and a lot of the posts haven't been filled.
Well, it's an idea that the current administration has no interest in a multilateral world, and I think that's why they're getting rid of it. I mean, that will affect us, I think, globally with wars more than terrorism.
What does I mean? I feel like also a lot of what the State Department, like the career guys.
I saw like the 5-hour New Pearl Harbor. You guys ruined my life.
Oh yeah,
it's not fun.
I watched that and read The Looming Tower to get like some perspective together, and I'm like, I don't know what to fucking believe. Like the only thing
Francis James. All we know is that Francis James knows.
Yeah, and
we met. We were supposed to do a Halloween episode, but then Tim's career had to take precedence.
I had to go to L.A. Sorry.
Did you hold him by yourself? An episode by yourself?
No, I think
I did. I did an episode with Jessa Reed. She was very, very good.
I was struck with the flu that week, I believe.
How are you not always struck with the flu?
I had an infection on my leg that got really bad, but I got antibiotics shot into me. And,
how did you get the infection on your leg?
Bezos.
It was a...
Do you really want?
Do you want this shoveled in? This infection shoveled into the fucking 7?
I was immunocompromised because of the flu, and therefore it was allowed to take hold. Now, what I was referring to, it's hard. Here's the thing. Any idiot can go grab a gun and start shooting into a crowd, which I was surprised Al Qaeda and ISIS didn't do more.
They didn't do that. It was really interesting.
Because, like, I always thought it'd be like much more terrorizing.
One of the reasons was somebody said, and this is a smart counterterrorism person, they said that because 9/11 was such a huge thing, Al Qaeda has these backers, these financial backers that they don't. If they start pulling off low-level bullshit things, the financial backers are like, well, we're not going to dump a lot of money into this big plot if you idiots are going to run around and think. Right. You got to realize that Al Qaeda itself was really. Before it was Al Qaeda, it was just a system of people and connections that knew each other that were buying weapons from each other. That was kind of the start of Al Qaeda.
Bin Laden's doing his thing with what was the second guy? I forget. Do you remember the second guy?
Ayman al-Zawahiri.
But and KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the guy who they famously, the guy with the wife beater who got beat up by the interrogators. Yeah, you've seen his picture. That guy was kind of doing his own thing, and he kind of joined. He kind of came to Bin Laden's like, hey, I got this plan.
It's a it's very loose.
It was also like he's like, I want to take down 25 planes, and Bin Laden's like, whoa, let's take it down now.
Right.
Let's do 4.
It's a very loosely organized thing, and a lot of it comes from this idea that these guys were in arms dealing and arms trading, and that's kind of what Al Qaeda was. It started as this loosely networked of people that would get each other weapons.
Yeah, they weren't really the Mujahideen themselves. They were like the people who kind of the cottage industry that built.
They also can't agree on
around it.
You know, like when they like, for instance, like, you know, like the famous Egyptian terror attack, or you know, like where they like killed all those people at that mosque. You know, then you see like a lot of groups start fighting amongst themselves. Or we're like, well, wait, our scripture doesn't advocate for this. We're just trying to go after Israelis. You know what I mean?
It's united. They're not united.
I'm not gonna say like that these things don't matter. If you're a Muslim, these differences aren't real. But they're obviously being exploited by whatever general, or who was the guy, Muqtada al-Sadr in Iraq.
Yeah, Muqtada al-Sadr.
I don't believe that Muqtada al-Sadr cared that much. I think but like the people under him, he's whipping them up with this.
It's a way to manipulate people.
It's also like what our government decides to put its attention on. Like probably the smartest decision that, Jesus Christ. Sorry. Probably the smartest decision that our government or that Bill Clinton ever made was after like Timothy McVeigh pulled off the Oklahoma City bombing. He didn't go after like
into Elohim City and those
Elohim City and stuff like that, because that could have started
right. Then the FBI would have got mad because like, why are you arresting our guys?
Right. Yeah, like it's like they're like, oh, let's keep this contained.
Right. Well,
because stuff like Ruby Ridge and Waco.
Well,
was
here's
such
the deal.
a
I
disaster.
mean, NBC did it the other day. They invite this guy Patrick Casey from Identity Europa on, and they give him 5 minutes to just on the like Today Show to like talk about his movement. It's like, what are we doing? Like, why are you platforming these people? And I'm not a guy that is like, don't debate people, don't platform these people. You know what the guy stands for.
Yeah.
You know, it's called Identity Europa. Like, what do you think he's going to come on and fucking say?
It doesn't help ratings. If you put somebody who's a moderate fucking Muslim or a moderate Republican, you know, like, or you know, like it's just, or a moderate Democrat, you know, like, or you know, somebody in an Israeli government who's kind of in the middle, you know, like that's not going to get any traction. Nobody wants that. They want fucking people on either side of the spectrum. So
you want
for a long time though, I think they were able to kind of enforce a unofficial embargo on like putting Nazis on the air or putting like actual.
Well, that's been the problem the past couple of years. Yeah,
the problem
they fucking made a deal for lucrative white nationalism.
Well, here's the deal: is the internet is now leading, I think, in terms of the way that these people cover the news, because the internet is a place that kind of allows these, you know, all these different people and these characters to flourish. Right. And I think all these news networks are now kind of this dinosaur media. They're older. They're trying to figure out, well, you know, how do we get clicks? How do we drive traffic to our site?
Vice gets an Emmy for putting, you know, and look, the guy has a breakdown 2 days later, so I don't think he got any benefit from it. But, you know, like a piece where, you know, it was a critical piece. They were showing the behind Charlottesville.
Yeah, this is what's
James
her name?
Cantwell or
what's her name? Christopher Cantwell.
M something or
who's the girl from Vice? L. You work next to her. How do you not know
seen her in the
name?
hallway. L. Somebody. She's a nice girl.
L. Whoever at Vice who just won an Emmy. She does a thing with Richard Spencer. Can you get L from Vice up so we know her name? Bobby, please. And they just won an Emmy for doing that Charlottesville piece with her, where she's embedded with Cantwell,
and on one level, it's like you get his insight into what it is, and it's a dangerous slope.
Reeve.
Oh yeah, it's a dangerous slope.
Dude, I was rewatching that like 2 days ago, like that Charlottesville Tiki Torch March. It is fucking terrifying.
Let me ask you a question. Let me throw this out to you.
Yeah.
Why?
It was actually for a bit.
That's a fair question.
It was actually for a bit, and I was like,
because
I've seen the photographs, but I've never seen the actual like the movement of how many people were there.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, this is fucking scary.
If you are in khakis and a polo with a fucking torch, marching around going, Jews will not replace us. You are so far from the life you should be living.
Well, they told him to wear those.
Of course they told him to wear them, right? That's not my fucking point. My point is that it's just like doing that at all to me is you're completely gone, like you're insane. You're having it's insane to me.
It seems almost like in other, like they don't usually seem that well organized like they did before Charlottesville.
Right.
To get that going, like this is the thing. It's not easy necessarily to get things going if you're a terrorist, if you're a hate group. It's you can have your local group.
Yeah.
But I mean, this
the internet. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you really need now. Is just a Reddit thread, and you're good to go. I mean, it is really one of those situations where, and
you look at the guy who had the most body count, like as far as the spree killings in the past couple of years, was Stephen Paddock, who didn't seem like he had any fucking discernible political beliefs.
The Vegas guy?
Vegas shooter.
Yeah.
You
and
know,
he's probably a nihilist. He was probably
I think he was an atheist Trump supporter. That was that was his unofficial. But even then, he wasn't like that far in that direction.
Right.
And he was just a guy who wanted like that week. He was like looking at, I'm going to look at jam band festivals. I'm going to look at this. Like he didn't care. He's like, what's the most amount of people I can?
Part of in my opinion, I'm no expert. My opinion, part of the problem is that once it became a thing, and maybe after Columbine and then the subsequent ones, now it's just part of the
culture,
the cultural vocabulary. It's something you can look. Certain people just mentally ill, or they get disaffected. They get into a rut. Like the same. It's become a thing where like there's a weird. Usually, if you're depressed, you kill yourself or whatever. Like you don't have most people who are depressed don't have the ambition to hurt people. It's not like, but I think there's a certain segment of the population where you kind of have this weird combination of depression, with wanting to kind of take people out on the way out. It's like it's a different vibe, and it may not have. It's a weird phenomenon where you may not have been there if they hadn't seen it before.
I think what you should do is you need to make getting guns a lot more difficult. But I will say this. I think that you'll still see, and this is sad, and I'm very much for restricting guns, you'll still see way too much violence in this country.
Oh, yeah.
Because people are very disaffected. People are, incredibly unstable. The food we eat, the drugs we take, all of this stuff to me is a problem, and the idea that we're living online now, predominantly, we really are.
People talk about video games, and I'm never going to be the guy who says it can't have an effect on violent video games. I'm like, I'd be surprised if there wasn't any effect. But like, I think the real more problem is when you see the news and the way the news operates. It's not that they're telling you to hate these people or hate these people. It's the perceived chaos that the news creates.
Yes.
It makes it seem like everyone hates each other and there is no hope. And I'm not saying it's great, but it really isn't that bad.
Well, it's funny. I was at a friend of mine his mother died. I go to the funeral in Connecticut, and I'm crying. He's giving a speech about his mom. He's crying. He did really well, and I was proud of him. It's very hard to give a eulogy. I did it from my grandmother. I didn't really cry. I destroyed for 30 minutes. But again, it's a different.
It's a different set of skills.
This is what I do for a living. Let's stop.
Also, let's hope like when your mom passes,
I've already written. I'll crush. No, I will crush. I'll destroy.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Like no, at the funeral.
Yes, you can say something.
Thank you.
But we're standing after the burial. The father reads this. The other son reads this note that the father wrote to the mother. I'm going to take care of the boys. I love you. I met you 40 years. You made my whole life. Everybody's crying. Right after it, my friend says to this lady, this woman's sister, her aunt, he goes, Tim's a stand-up comedian. You should check out his Netflix, which is fine. It's fine. It was fine because she said, what does he do and everything.
Okay.
He goes, you should watch his Netflix. Then she goes like this. She goes, well, let me ask you a question. By the way, the body's not in the ground yet. She goes, let me ask you a question. What's your political belief? I don't talk to conservative Republicans. And I'm like, well, my comedy's mostly about ice cream. She's like, okay, we'll see. But again, it was just so funny. It was like beautiful eulogy. This was my soulmate, the love of my life. It's this woman's sister.
Right.
The body's not in the ground. She turns right around and goes, I don't talk to Republicans. And it's just immediately how ready everybody is now.
Just to jump at the jugular.
To just jump at the jugular when it's like, we're all number one, we're going through this thing. I'm in like tears. I've never met the woman, but it's just so funny how ready people are.
It's hard. It's hard, like, even without this whole Trump era
Great lunch
shit.
and a great funeral. I like funerals. I kind of like them.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
No, they didn't have pita bread, right? But they had a lot of things. To me,
What did they have at the funeral?
You know, baked ziti and meatballs and quesadillas and buffalo wings. It was kind of a real.
Nice. Like
no, it was like exactly like that.
Yeah.
It was. I love a
So
funeral.
it was like a Buffalo Wild Wing funeral.
Yeah, it was Connecticut. They're simple people, but you know, I mean, when my friend's father died, we did a steakhouse, whatever. It's not important. The point is, I like funerals. I could get addicted to going to different funerals.
That's what happened
I kind of like them.
That's what happened to Uncle Junior on The Sopranos.
Is that true? He just kept going to funerals.
That was because the only way he could get out of house arrest is going to funerals.
Dude,
so he
that's
was like
so
looking
funny.
through
I
the
remember,
obituaries
yeah.
and like seeing which people he kind of knew.
Yeah,
And he would be having a great time at
And
these
to me,
funerals.
it's like
After my
in all seriousness, I wouldn't. This guy I care about a lot. I wouldn't go to a funeral if because it was the whole day. It's like the whole day.
After my grandparents' funeral, we went to the Gottschee Hall.
What is that?
I'm not technically German. I'm Gottschee, which
What
is
the fuck is that?
It was
Jesus Christ!
it was a small province
Oh God!
between
Of
Austria-
cannibals. It was a small province of mainly cannibals.
They
existed for years, eating each other.
situated
Can you
between
imagine?
Austria and Germany.
They were cannibals, but proud.
And
What happened in
grew up
those woods?
I grew up going to Gottschee festivals.
What is a
No, you
Gottschee
didn't.
festival?
I did.
What are you-
Gottschee
what's a
picnics.
Gottschee
What are you
What is a
talking
Gottschee
about?
festival?
We've talked about it. Haven't we talked about the Gottschee?
No one has ever. What are you
What is
doing?
a Gottschee festival compared to
Well, I
like
think,
an
technically,
Oktoberfest or
To be
something
fair,
like that?
I believe it was referred to as the Gottschee picnic, but it was a big community thing of the Gottschee people. There was a beer garden type place before it was hip. Before everyone was going to beer gardens every weekend.
Right.
It was like an old school.
I just can't believe you're allowed near a garden, let alone.
Well, it was more of a cement structure. It was in Queens, and the point is that it was all these people who were from Gottschee who came over after the war, and then they had a Miss Gottschee. They would nominate.
They had a Miss Gottschee?
Yeah.
What
What's
the
a Miss
fuck
Gottschee?
is going on, right?
Gottschee Hall. You can see the previous. There we go.
Oh my God!
Look at these beauties.
These women are trash. They're so gross.
Some are pretty.
Oh my God! No, they're not.
Look, they don't do it every year now because they've run out of Gottschee women to put up in front of people. So
Why? Because they're working for the MTA, chasing rats out of the tunnels.
whatever. So I grew up Gottschee. What?
Growing up, Gottschee.
Now,
This is a small
That's a
province.
reality
No
show
one-
nobody wants.
no one ever told me much about it, but my uncle's wife, my aunt by marriage, she did some. She did some digging, and she found a book like some professor wrote at one point about Gottschee. It turns out it was like an ethnic outpost during the Middle Ages, like into Yugoslavia or something. So that's what they used it for, I guess.
What? Explain to me again.
Yeah,
It's an ethnic outpost for Slavs.
kind of the way like Israel built settlements. That's the way I understood it.
So Yugoslavia was
that's why you're
trying.
anti-
No, it was against the Slavs, I think, or the Czech, something like that. Yeah, because now it's Yugoslavia. It's part of Yugoslavia right now. But so I'm technically a Yugoslav.
Well, you know what, Ray? We find out more about you every single episode. That's what
certainly
we
do.
Were there songs you guys sang?
Well, after I don't know if this is Gottschee or just German, but after every time we had a family birthday,
Right.
they would sing Happy Birthday in English, like Americanized Germans. But then they would start breaking out into Oxalian, oh no, I don't know the words, but
this is very uncomfortable.
I can see
everybody in the
the
studio.
tiki torches start to march. As
They would not let him at Unite the Right. They would throw him out of Unite the Right so fast. They would go, let's not unite everyone. There's a few people that need to stay home and, carry the message. They would say to him quietly, they'd be like, why don't you go carry the message on Reddit? Keep carrying it online. We don't need you.
4chan, please.
Yeah, go back, please. Shh.
So anyway, after my grandpa's funeral, we go to the Gottschee Hall, and apparently because there was like a little wonderful lady, but she was very short, kind of like a hobbit woman. I'm not sure what her deal was, and
I
she
feel like
was.
these are like all like mystical creatures, like this Gottschee Hall. It's just trolls and goblins.
Growing up Gottschee.
It's in Ridgewood, and she informed us that the Gottschee Hall.
Oh, here it is. But play that, Bobby. Look at these freaks. Look at, dude, this is a fucking freak show.
Well,
this makes so much sense if you've ever met Ray. This makes so much sense.
They seem perfectly nice, these people.
Yeah, they're lovely.
Sure they seem perfectly nice.
Look,
if you're
it's Miss Gottschee, 2000 something.
If you're into making soap out of Jewish people, they're lovely. But other than that, they're not too nice.
My grandpa was forced into the army in Germany. I don't think he
was conscripted.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that's what they tell me at least. He spent 7 years in the gulag.
And then he had a bread route.
He worked for Boar's Head as a butcher in the warehouse.
He did his time.
You know, chopping up. My point is, we went there. The Hobbit lady was telling me that a lot of the hipster kids, and as she called them, go to Gottschee Hall on the weekends, you know, because they like the local, you know, they had the Steins and the all that shit. And we had some Black Forest cake. It was wonderful.
I love a Black Forest.
I mean, my brother.
I love a Black Forest.
It is lit. I mean,
Schwarzwälder Quiche.
This is the best Black Forest I had in my entire life.
Do you like Black Forest cake, Dan?
I'm not a big fan.
Okay.
Yeah, I had the right ones. You come to my grandpa's funeral. It's phenomenal. But afterwards, I remember my brother, and I'm not shitting on him, but, you know, we don't know what to say to my
looks like
grandma.
a bus stop, by the way. Yeah. It's like, we're just staring at these three goons. You know, that's like the one design flaw of this office. We're just looking at this 7-station stop here. These three fucking, I mean, Jesus Christ.
This is all over once Bezos comes in.
Yeah, you're not kidding. These people, you're going to be homeless.
But we never knew what to say to my grandma. You know, she was kind of a...
What is the point of this? You started this an hour ago.
At the end of the video, like, we're in the parking lot leaving, and like, we're all, a nice funeral. My brother goes, good cake. And it was, she played it off, but I thought it was a little...
What the fuck was the point of all of that?
I forget.
That went nowhere.
Well, we're about funerals. Food at funerals. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Have you done this? Like, I've been at funerals where, like, when I was a kid, they're like, all right, your job is to be, like, the funny one.
They've said that to you?
The fun one, yeah. Like, be the fun one in the basement, you know, because people were upset.
At my grandma's funeral, a year after my grandpa, I was trying to be the funny one too. Like my cousin, my younger cousin, she was very sad. I didn't know my grandma as well as they did.
So I bit her. Funny.
I was making.
I like the taste of flesh.
I can't remember what I was saying.
Go,
but I was showing a lighter.
He's just Ray with a tuba, dressed up like Augustus Gloop. He's like, I'm gonna do a sketch.
I was talking about grandma and probably was being a little aloof, a little bit more detached than I should have been emotionally. And I remember, I think at some point, I don't know if I made her cry, but she started crying.
Who's your cousin?
Yeah. I think she was more emotional. I didn't realize how emotional. Like, I thought we were both cynically like, yeah, this is all a big fucking joke, huh?
At my grandmother's funeral, my father stood there showing pictures of his dog to people. It was the most inappropriate thing. He's a self-obsessed human being who's incapable of, like, dealing with anything. So
the best part...
Yeah.
No, he's going like, this is a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he goes, Tim, how's the comedy? And he really enjoys it. I'm glad he found something he enjoys. Yeah, he's doing... I'm like, yeah, he's doing well with it. I'm just happy he's enjoying it. No, but it's going... It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
My favorite funeral moment, and you know, it's not. I mean, it's my uncle tragically passed away. You know, like when his kids were really young. You know, he battled with cancer for a while, and you know, they had the viewing, and you know, the family came up, and you know, they had the wake and stuff. And then there's this one guy who comes in, and he's wearing like bike shorts and like a hot pink like tank top, and he hugs my aunt, and then my Uncle Paul, who you know like would. My aunt, it was my aunt's husband who passed. My Uncle Paul, this guy comes up to Paul and he gives him like a huge hug, and he kisses him on the cheek and he walks away. And my uncle just turned to my aunt and goes, "Who is that guy?" And she goes, "I've never met him before in my life." So just some guy came in out of like bicycling or jogging and just like I guess went to a funeral, like had some hors d'oeuvres, and then. Just
I mean,
like
your uncle might have had some friends you didn't know. You know, maybe he was.
I mean, listen, I
maybe.
could see myself doing that, man. I could see myself doing it. There's just something about funerals that I think they're a celebration of life, and they're very interesting. And I think people are in that situation. It is kind of you know, it's kind of amazing.
Have you seen the new Norm Macdonald show on Netflix? He has a thing where he's like, you know, I want my funeral to be sad.
Yeah.
That's how I don't want it to be a celebration. I want people to be crying the whole time.
This was tough. This was a woman who would really beat, you know, she beat pancreatic cancer.
Right.
And then she fought cancer for 9 years, and then she eventually, You know, she succumbed to it, but she had walked and she had done all these things. Like, she really fought it, and she had a community of people that fought it with her. And you say to yourself, you go, there's people that live for a very long time that don't find any meaning in their life. And you think to yourself, the meaning that she found fighting with this community of people fighting cancer, you know?
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do it.
Right.
But it is amazing when you look at it and you say to yourself, this person, you know, had this experience that made them really, you know, become like a warrior, and very few people ever have something like that, and it is a tragedy. But it's like there's a story now for everybody in her family of like anybody who's talking shit about like, oh, I don't like getting up early. It's like, let me tell you about what this woman did. You have fucking, you know, she beat the odds. Pancreatic cancer is supposed to be dead in like 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody beats
that's
that.
bad.
Nobody beats
How
it.
long she last?
10 years.
That's insane.
She beat it pancreatic 3 years, and then she just kept beating subsequent cancers.
Right.
And again, it's the fight. Me and you would have been dead in a week.
I don't think R.J. Reynolds and other tobacco companies get enough credit for providing meaning to people's lives.
I agree with you. I've said this so many times. Everyone's focused on the negatives of debilitating diseases, but they have such a...
No, fuck Oprah's soul conversations. Let's have Philip Morris. Fireside lectures.
But my friend said it's her diet. He said she never smoked a day in her life, but he said she didn't ever eat a vegetable. She ate, you know, it's Connecticut. You eat cheeseburgers. You eat, these highly processed, very salty meats. You eat deli sandwich. You eat all this stuff.
And that's what gave her the cancer.
Go around the room.
This is what he said.
How long do you think we're all going to live to?
I would say me and Ray have till the end of the year.
I'm going to live to 85 probably.
I mean, that is the thing. Ray is the type of guy that lives till 85 and nobody knows why.
I think a lot of it's genetic. I think
a lot of it is genetic.
I mean, there is environment, but like all of my dad's family at least, they lived to 185.
That's
90.
the other thing with the Gottschee. They're Highlanders and they live forever.
Here's the thing. I think with cancer even too. I think cancer is a lot. Look, there is of course local clusters from like, you know, you live next to a fucking power plant or whatever, and it's the food shit. But I think like, you know, it's like, oh, I smoked for this amount of years. Certain people are more predisposed to it, and you have a certain like grouping of it. Yeah, like it will affect it. But I think you have so many people who were smoking years ago. I think it might be warped a little bit how much cancer the smoking was causing versus like everyone was smoking, and a certain amount of people are going to get cancer. I know I'm making the case for tobacco.
I don't think I think smoking cigarettes is certainly every single study shows
it escalates it.
You're
sure.
escalating.
Yeah, I don't.
Ray just drops dead tomorrow.
And literally, like, the first person in 23 years to come out.
It's also a quality.
Like smoking isn't as bad for you as people
I'm
may.
just saying, like heart disease.
I believe a lot of it's genetics, but it's also quality of life. So you don't want to live like shit and eat like shit and feel like shit. Even if you do live till 85, you don't want to feel like shit. You know, you just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, with funerals, like
it's just tough. The end of somebody's life is tough. I went through with my grandmother, and I was talking to my friend about it. Those last 10 days of somebody's life when they're in the hospital, and you got to make these decisions, and the insurance companies fucking suck, and this country, you know, it's legalized crime.
I got to be honest. I got just, you know, like if I'm debilitating illness, man, and I know, it's just fucking.
Right, and by that you mean a cold.
Well, I've seen a bunch of guys.
Yeah, the doctor's like, it's a cold, and Dad's like, give me the gun, euthanasia.
Back when I worked in the morgue, I saw plenty of guys who were like,
we need a drop for that. We need back when I worked in the morgue.
Back when I worked in the morgue, there should be like, like a like you have the puppets at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe like Ray pops up from a casket and waves, and then
it's amazing we haven't caught on in a more commercial sphere.
But a bunch of guys.
The podcast for literally no one.
Yeah, right.
We started out just mind-numbingly soft and boring, listing off statistics about Amazon. None of us really taking a stance on anything. None of us for 10 minutes reading news reports. The beginning of this podcast was horrendous. None of us are really equipped to answer it. So like Tim was reading, and then me and Ray were like kind of like looking at each other, and then even Tim was like reading this and being like, you know, nobody, you know, I mean, this could, you know, like, and then he was like, old neighborhood. He brought that up at the end. We're like, what the fuck is this podcast about? And then like we're like, you know what? We know what's bad? Al Qaeda and Nazis. Those are bad. Again, no new ground. Finally, when we get to the fact that Ray thinks cigarettes are good for you.
Yeah.
45 minutes into this fucking podcast, it finally gets going.
This is why we're not my favorite murder. You know, we're not come down. We're not filling the seats.
We are my least favorite slow murder.
Look, all I'm saying is when I worked in the morgue, I saw a lot of suicides come in.
Yeah.
Right? And I would see guys who could have easily been you, who would you wonder what the stories are. Some of them have notes, but they don't always have notes. And you see, and some of them, they got diagnosed with a disease, and they just popped it off. They fucking took a shotgun, and who am I to judge that?
No, sure.
Right.
But no, I don't know. Here's the thing. When you're watching someone die,
when the bodies came in, you never had to talk to the families, right?
No, they wouldn't let me do that.
Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine? They do it with a double gauge, all right.
Well, it would have been nice because I was doing
Your daughter is beautiful, sir. Would you mind if I posthumously married her? Can I marry her, sir?
Could she be Mrs. What's it called?
Can I bring a priest in to perform the ceremony?
Everyone.
He puts the blue sash on her.
Well, I've asked him before.
Everyone, it comes out. First, did you fuck the bodies?
Yes.
First of all, be more.
We didn't ask.
I
never asked about fucking the bodies.
I have a wealth of knowledge I accumulated at that job over the years, and I would be happy to give it.
You just quoted Taken.
Yeah.
You literally quoted the scene from Taken when he's on the phone, and he says, I have a wealth of knowledge to make me a nightmare for people like you. You took photos of dead bodies. You weren't a CIA operative.
He was a morgue photographer who then transitioned into doing autopsies. He was actually cutting open stuff. He was not qualified to do this. He shouldn't have been touching dead bodies at all, other than to position them for photographs.
Under a doctor's supervision.
He was cutting things open.
They let me take the bolt cutters and open the rib cage a few times.
And that is completely out of line. That should have never happened.
It should have happened. Look, you're there. Why not experience life? That's what I'm saying.
It's literally the opposite. It's literally a dead body that you're cutting up.
That is the opposite.
I wasn't threatening you with my wealth of knowledge. I'm trying to say, I can tell a lot of weird stories. Did you fuck them? Of course I didn't fuck them.
I asked you that. You said you thought about it and you didn't.
No, I didn't.
You said, and I have a YouTube clip of going, before I got to that job, you think to yourself, a dead body. I wonder if I feel anything. And then you go, I don't feel anything. Right. Well, you just
look, you wonder,
to be fair, he wasn't, how long did you think about it for?
Not at all, but it's you wonder, you see a dead body naked. You see it in movies sometimes, you go, that must be awkward. And it's amazing how it's just, it's such an obvious, they're dead and there's nothing. And it's just, there's an obvious lack of life.
Do you think that the cost of living argument in regards to the Amazon headquarters is a persuasive argument in terms of people are now saying, hey, we need a company to help us get the most buyout for our rent control apartment. That's the new thing. No, listen, here's the deal. It was a very sad funeral because it was this
podcast needs a bagpipe playing in the background.
We don't know what it needs. We keep trying. I don't know what it needs. I don't know what it is. Everybody I know makes $400,000 a month on Patreon.
Are you guys making any money on Patreon?
We don't have a Patreon. We're on the network.
Yeah. New Orleans has a tradition of.
Great. But we do it because we love it. That's the thing.
That's it.
You can mock it, but we're doing it for the love of the game.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to do a pro wrestling podcast. No one's listening to this, and you're going to be on it 2 weeks in a row. You don't even watch fucking wrestling.
I didn't get one follower.
I'm not a wrestling guy. But
you got one follower.
I literally got one follower. I literally got one follower from doing it.
But they have a tradition of having these parades where they celebrate the person.
Yeah,
and they're marching in the tuba.
Cruise.
What I'm curious about, though, and I'm not trying to be funny here, but do they do that if the person was brutally murdered?
Yes.
Okay, that's it's just that must be awkward a little bit
because that's 90% of the deaths in New Orleans would be brutal murder. Yeah,
but I get celebrating someone's life.
Alive?
Anne Rice, the vampire chick?
Yeah.
We'd like to get her on.
If a child is killed, do they still have a fun parade?
They have a bounce house.
New York City.
You're the casket in the bounce house, and you bounce around with it.
New Orleans is all about celebrating everything. So.
I understand, but at a certain point, the mother might be a little conflicted there. I would think.
She's not. She's drunk. She's having fun. She's playing it fucking trumpet.
Yeah.
It's an amazing city.
It's my favorite place in the world.
I've never been there.
You got to go.
It's amazing.
I don't know if
we'll go together.
I know it's an amazing city, but I don't know if this guy needs to go.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
very dark. It's everything. It's very dark.
They love me there. I was a hit in New Orleans.
Probably very easy to get.
No, we're talking about you. We're talking about him.
How easy to get drugs there, you think?
Come on.
It's a port town.
Yeah, I mean, listen, how easy is it? I mean, here's the thing, man. I think it's a great place to you go for a weekend or 3 days.
God, don't you miss beer?
I never drank anything with bubbles. I drank vodka on the rocks. I drank gin martinis. Yeah, every now and then I'll look at a gin martini.
I miss it. I miss it.
Every now and then I'll look at a gin martini. I'll go, that would be fun.
I drink, but like, here's the thing. You're of an age now where, like, I'll tell you, because I've been drinking. I mean, we're at the same age. Yeah. 35. I've been drinking the whole time, but I'm not heavily. I'm not drinking, but like. You don't know because you stopped early, but like it wouldn't be that fun. You're remembering the fun times, but it's not that fun when you're 33.
It's really not. I got to be honest with you. Your body slows down. You're unable to recover the way you used to.
You can't.
The buzzes are different. It's a whole different world.
The whole vibe of being a young person
because it's slow. When you get older, when you become like alcoholic, when you get older, you get no wine.
Yeah.
Oh, this is slow.
But it's the whole thing. You're at a bar when you're 22, and you're like, everything's possible, and you're like, things are happening. And but like you're just at 34, you're just.
God, I was hanging out in a real dirtbag bar at 22, a corner bar. I was not there was nobody was going. Everything's happening.
There's a bar
2009. We getting hammered
right near here that I walked past, and I was like, I could get lost in this place for 4 fucking hours.
Well, that's the other thing with me and you is we romanticize the idea not only so much of the drinking, but of the crazy characters and the stories and like. The reality is the things that were really fun or interesting are really now just tragic.
Yeah.
Because now that we've grown up and we've kind of spent some time, like the woman.
I literally had a drug dealer named the Devil.
Right.
Like he was named.
At that point, Dan, you've done it all. There's you don't need to go back into whatever.
No, I'm very happy right now.
You're very happy, but I mean, you're engaged.
You're engaged?
Yeah, I'm engaged.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How long have you guys been together for?
We've been together for about a year, and
great.
We were friends before that, dated a little before that, so
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
congratulations!
going great.
Yeah, I mean,
Tim knows her. Tim and Sarah hit it off.
Well, she's from Northport, so she's very much a Long Island.
I grew up in Deer Park, which is directly south of that.
No.
Yeah, well, let's just say it's probably different next to the woods.
All right, I wasn't saying I was on the same socioeconomic level as your fiance.
well, Northport's a little different. It's just different than Deer Park.
I understand that. Okay, I was just saying geographically it's not far.
Great.
Do you think Ray and Sarah would have a good hang together?
Sure.
Yeah. I think they would.
Yeah, because she knows people like him at like a loading dock of a deli. She's seen people like him at a gas. He's the intellectual guy at the gas station that says something brilliant twice a year. Like this is what happens. It's a Christmas night. You leave. Your family's getting you crazy, so you go, I just got to go get gas. And everyone's like, why? And then you're really going to get a pack of cigarettes. You just want to smoke one. And it's a beautiful night. And this guy crystals of ice on the car. And then he comes over. He's like, what's going on? Does the family, they got you going crazy? And she says, yes, they do. And he goes, you know what? This time of year is about everything. The good and the bad, because that's what it's all about. And then he says something, and then she goes, that's brilliant. And then he just looks at her a second too long, and she gets back in her car, and he just waddles, and he goes and sits down on a fucking, what are those little boxes called? The crates, the milk crate.
Yeah, the milk crate.
He just goes and sits down on a milk crate and smokes a cigarette, and then she just looks at him, and she goes, what a great man. I'm glad he's here to transmit these truths.
Also,
I've never waddled in my life.
And one of those guys too, or like she turns like at that point, like Sarah would turn to me and maybe our adopted son or daughter at the time and be like, this is fortunate we get to be together because there are some people who have to work at these gas stations on Christmas Eve,
right,
alone, and we have to be fortunate for what we have.
Yeah, I'm also in a loving relationship.
And then Ray writes down our license plate number. And then 2 nights later, in the middle of the night, why is the power out?
And Ray goes like this.
And then we hear the breathing.
Just says very innocuous.
We hear the breathing.
He says very innocuously, he goes, I'll see you later.
She
goes, what did he mean by that?
And then we're just it's that like I'm like struggling to get out with the whole fucking house is in flames.
What did he mean by that? But let me tell you right now, man.
Ray's doing great, man. I see him. He's going to Broadway shows with his fucking girlfriend.
No, listen. The word to use would be great. That would be the word to use. When look at what everyone else is doing on Earth, absolutely. He went to his show. I'm a big I bought him dinner. I bought him and his girlfriend dinner the other night.
We need to get you a fucking boyfriend.
I need to get a writer first.
Very
they didn't even offer to do the tip. They fucking sat there and stared at me.
They didn't even
told me stories about.
Wait a minute.
Told me
How many
stories about.
In Ray's fucking defense, how many times have you fucking bamboozled this motherfucker? How many times have you hoodwinked this guy?
I've hoodwinked everybody.
You've done it to everybody I know.
We got a free dinner out of Italia the other night.
Yeah, it was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Here's what Tim did. We're sitting there. We did the show at the stand. It was a great show, right?
Yeah.
And myself, and Sarah, we're gonna go to this Italian restaurant, El Cortile. Chris Italia comes in with this is like a pro. Fucking
hustler move.
Grifter. What's a drifter? Grifter. It's a pro grifter move.
Yeah.
Like Tim was paid $100 for the show tonight. We were each paid $100 bill, and I knew exactly what was happening. Chris said, "We're all there." The check comes like. Tim, before the check comes, Tim puts the entire 100 down.
Yes.
Which Chris knows. That's what I paid him to do comedy.
Yes.
Chris goes, I got it.
Perfect.
He grabs the check. And then I was like,
the fact that
he
you
didn't
noticed
do
that,
30. He didn't do that. He did the 100. I knew he had other cash on it.
He knew.
I knew he had other cash.
I was going in. You're putting it all on black.
You saw me. You saw my eyes. And as soon as I was gone, I texted Tim. I was like, you fucking did it again.
I did it again.
And you said, I've
Free
always
dinner.
depended on the kindness of strangers.
And then Dan texted me back. He's like, it's the best hustle in New York. And I just was waddling down the fucking Mulberry Street, kicking babies and just,
Like one of the great, it's unbelievable.
Great move.
It's a great hustle.
Is that the core? Like, if someone said, "I'm going to treat you guys," I've had a great. The things are going, whatever.
Do you have some other similar hustles that you've done?
But is that the proper move to say I'll pay the tip? I feel like that would be insulting.
You offered to pay the tip.
Very nice to pay the tip, but
Yeah,
I'm kidding around
is that something that's
yes.
Okay.
I mean, he's fucked you over probably so many times over meals that I don't really. That he should be paying the next 3 meals you're not there for.
Oh, shut up! But here's some other grifter moves.
Here's some other grifter moves. Finally, we got to the good stuff after a 20-minute TED Talk on Amazon.
Dude, I thought it'd be fucking interesting. I'm trying to see what works.
He fucking messages me like 4 hours ago when we were talking about Amazon tonight.
Yeah,
people like us because we're local.
I'm trying to class it up.
People don't want to know we're local.
They don't want to know we're local. That's number one.
They want to know we're far away in the swamp somewhere.
The Dulce, alien New Mexico base. Here's a move, and I've used this move on. Let's see if you recognize this move. A move to do when the check comes is to bring up something good that's going on in someone's life.
Okay.
So what you do is when the check comes.
Oh, that is perfect.
This is what you do, and I did this on Dan. Dan, the check comes, and I said, we'll split it. And I'm like, don't worry about it. You got a big network writer's job, and you say it as a joke, but then what happens is the person goes, you know what, I'll do it, and then you fight them. You're like, no, come on, I'm kidding around, I'm joking. And then they pay for it. So that's a move. That's clearly a move to do.
I thought you were going I was really going to respect it for a minute because I thought you were going as the check is coming, bring up but in a more subtle, where they just feel positive and they feel good. But you're just literally going hey, you fucking scumbag.
No,
that was his game with me. But he's got a different game for everybody.
It's a different. Listen, you have to. If it's
what's another meal you've got?
You have to have no shame. Is the idea?
No, you have to know. Well, nobody has any shame. If you have a shame, you're a sucker. But a lot of meals you get for free if you go out with people. And the reality of the situation is there's a few different ways to do it. One of them is, again, you bring up something good as the check is coming. You do a pre-check.
Yeah.
Or with somebody like Dan, it's funny, so you got to go, He has
a joke, but it's also a guilt trip. And it's a survivor's guilt. I'm at the time. And at the time, I think Tim... At the time, you didn't have a half hour coming. There wasn't really anything down the pipe.
No,
so
I deserved it.
Yeah, you deserved it.
But my point is, you knew he did it.
I had the half hour booked.
I knew he did it. Yeah.
Well, the thing is this: people know they're getting roused.
The Italian thing, I don't think he necessarily picked up on the fact you did it on purpose. You think he spotted that scam?
People know if you throw more than you should throw, what you're doing. When you throw more than you should.
He knew later that night. There's no way he didn't know later. Look, I got a free meal out of it too.
Right.
So
when
God
you
bless
throw
Tim.
more money, this is a rule.
Okay.
When you offer to pay more, because now you're going out on the ledge. Now here's what could happen. You could have somebody say to you.
Tim ate about probably with tip $60 worth of food that day.
I ate a lot of food.
Probably 60 if you want to know.
So the reality is, when you throw too much, there's two things that could happen. You could go, no, I did the sauce, the Sunday sauce.
Okay.
They had a lot of ravioli. It's very good. When you throw more than you should, you have two things. People going, thanks a lot, man. Then you're fucked. Then you're out. Then you're out.
But that's like, you know, like you're going to get, almost got to like put that in the year. You're like, I'm going to have one of those situations.
Yeah, and then, but the majority of the time people go, forget it, I got it. Don't worry about it. Forget it, I got it. Don't worry about it. The other thing is if you can subtly drop hints throughout the meal that you're going to do something for this person later on. Like if you can kind of, the idea that something you're like, oh, you like that? Oh, my uncle, I get this great restaurant in Miami. You know what? When you're going down, you got to let me know. I'll just set you up. Like
how many family members have you lied about as far as like them, like made up family members about different cities they've been in? And
a few. And if you can give people the idea that I said once that I had an aunt who was high in PR, worked at PMK in LA. These are all lies. That's a complete lie. And I got a dinner. But so the idea is that like they're buying you this dinner to secure the thing you're going to do for them in the future.
Right. Now, what about this? This is my idea. Like, all right. So what if I'm at a dinner and I start, like, when the check comes, I start changing a bandage on my hand.
Yeah.
And I start going, yeah, I'm sorry, but, you know, I have this, like, dermatitis thing on my arm. It's just, I mean, I don't have health insurance right now. It's just kind of a problem. But, you know, like, I have this infection on my leg. But, you know, I'm sorry. So you're just
going to become a leper when the check comes?
I'm just...
I saw a great scam.
Yeah.
This is a great fucking scam I saw.
Yeah.
I was at the cellar and I was outside with Donnelly and we were talking, right? And this fucking dude came up to us and he starts going like he was drunk and he's like, it was a black dude and he's like, well, let me tell you about Trump. And like immediately I was like, here's fucking money. You know what I mean? Because I was originally, I felt bad as a white dude for getting Trump in. You know what I mean?
Right.
And immediately he like sobered up. He was like, all right, I got it. I was like, that guy's got a great hustle.
He probably voted for Trump. He loves Trump. Plugs, Dan. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
You know, I have a website, danstgermain.net.
That's what people are going to. danstgermain.net.
Come on. You just buy my album. No Real Winners Here.
No Real Winners Here is a very funny album.
My website is my date, so if you want to go see me do stand-up.
DS Germain on Instagram and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
At RayComp, Instagram and Twitter. I got things brewing. Don't worry. People are messaging me where's a RayComp DJ set? Someone asked me on Instagram.
First of all, you haven't announced. You had a contest on the show, and then have not announced who gets the painting.
It's coming next week.
And you haven't. But now people think it's fake.
No, it's not fake. It's not fake. First of all,
I show Sarah these paintings. These paintings are incrable.
Thank you.
They're incredible.
I mean, are they?
I mean, from like if it was like Coco the Gorilla or John Wayne Casey, yeah.
Well, look,
he's a mix of both.
I am not an experienced painter in the sense of like my technical skill is, you know, of course, but I feel like I have a personal, like a point of view, and maybe you like that.
You saw somebody OD on the train the other day.
Oh, I did. I was coming back from.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was coming back from...
Tim tells me some of these are lies, though. Is this true?
No, this is totally true.
Well, your uncle, you say your thing about your uncle.
Thank you for breaking the fourth wall for the fans. You know, they enjoy this. They know there's a seed of doubt, but they enjoy the speculation, and you don't want to just, like, we just keep breaking kayfabe in your language? Thank you. Jesus Christ. No, but I really, this is totally true.
I'll buy you dinner after this.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'm going to Brindle Room after this.
Do you want to go?
Starving.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'll buy you both dinner. You get the burger. You each get the burger.
I want more space, you know?
We can go somewhere. I mean,
well, we can discuss this after I tell the fans about.
All right, fine.
Okay, sorry.
I'm coming back from Babylon.
What is Odessa? Greek? I don't like Odessa. Is that where we?
Is that where I vomited?
Yeah.
There's a diner right over here.
What diner?
It's
Remedy. The one on Houston?
Yeah, we could do. I don't know. Let's check it out.
Okay.
Is there a version of like teasing a story on like terrestrial
keep going,
radio?
Fatty.
Jesus. So I'm coming back. My friend drops me off at Babylon. I miss my train, so I have like 20 minutes to the next one. So I go back downstairs and just get a seltzer water at the corner store. And on the way there, I see this commotion. Like a cop car had pulled up and pulled back. And what the hell's going on here? There's a guy freaking out, and he's a Samaritan, it seems like. And he's going, she's not breathing. She's laying down. Like you know how at a train station, like in wherever you go, there'll be people who will kind of park in the fire lane, whatever you want to call it, by the curb and drop people off. They were like the car was there, and she is in between the curb and the car, like laying down like next to the wheel well. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And he's going, she's not breathing. And the cop like is getting out of the car, he's like, hurry up, she's not breathing. And he's taking his time, which I don't understand. I guess they see a lot of heroin, whatever. But he comes over and he's hitting her with the stuff. The fucking he's giving her some CPR. I think the Samaritan gave her CPR first. Then another cop car comes, and I'm pretty sure it was like, I got it in the glove box. I think it was, what's that drug that they give overdoses?
I forget, but I know what
there's a drug you give someone with an overdose that's pretty effective pulling them out. They give that. I never saw her wake up, but they did say she was breathing. They had a defibrillator and shit.
It sucks with that shit. Sometimes you just go brain dead and you're not.
That's it.
I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes
I've never fucking done heroin. Thank God.
Thank God.
It's the kind of thing. It's like,
have you ever done it?
No. It's like
he's not really a drug guy.
I'm not a big drug guy, and maybe I'm I don't know how you guys. We go around the same time. I feel like the movie, I'm not even talking about like PSAs and Nancy Reagan, but like movies like Train Spotting or whatever, like they had an effect on me. I'm like, oh, this is fucking bad. You'll probably get addicted. And I was always very afraid of that. But I guess also if I had cooler friends who like were just friends at all, who were doing, but who like had heroin and were like, hey, like you want some? And there's a hot girl there I was trying to impress. I might have done some heroin. I'm not above, people.
Right.
I'm not better
if
than
anyone
people.
had said anything to you, it might have been the word heroin.
There's never been like a heroin movie that's like where there's a bunch of hot chicks. There's always like Scarface. You think of like heroin. It's not definitely not the same thing.
Heroin's a bad move.
I feel like the snorting culture. People don't talk about the snorting culture as much. And
because it really it goes to the shooting culture very quickly.
Does it?
Yeah.
I know people.
Yeah, because you can
After a while, you go, this isn't doing it, and then somebody goes, why don't you just?
I mean, a lot of people. I think a certain amount. A lot of people have reservations, and not because they're afraid of needles, but I think that is kind of a sobering moment for some people, at least, where it's like, why don't like like, hey, maybe I'm like taking a little more powder every time when I'm snorting it, like maybe it's getting a little much. I'm doing it a little more often. But when you start going to the needle, I think some people at least will go like, this is getting weird.
Yeah. Well, let's just leave it there. When you start going to the needle, some people will go, this is getting weird.
Fair enough.
Kids. You know that, kids. Tim J. Dillon, DILLON on Instagram and Twitter, TimDillonComedy.com. I am at the Blue Room Comedy Club in St. Louis, Missouri, 16th through the 18th of November, the 5th through the 8th of December. I'll be at Cap City in Austin. If you guys want to come out, that should be a lot of fun. The 12th through the 14th, I'll be at Bananas in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. TimDillonComedy.com for all other dates. Me and Ray are going to be at Moon Tower doing this podcast live.
Absolutely.
Are you going to Moon Tower?
No.
Okay, we'll find someone else.
The contest is real. I was going to announce today.
Tell them to book me.
I'll tell him. I'll tell him to do it. Now,
I've done a couple.
No,
I'm just saying.
Last time I was at Moon Tower, did you go shooting with us?
No.
We went shooting.
I'm an avid shooter.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, it's fun down there.
We went to a gun range and it was so fun.
Dude, we're gonna go again. Moon Tower's one of my favorite festivals.
It's a great festival. But we went shooting and then we're like, hey, nobody has ever died here or anything, right? And then the guy goes, no. And then we looked it up on Google and somebody had killed himself like 2 weeks
that's
earlier
hilarious. 40 minutes outside of Moon Tower is a place called Lockhart, Texas, like the birthplace of barbecue.
Oh, nice.
And it's crazy good. So we're gonna probably hit that up.
The point is, I am just one. I ran out of time today. I was going to do it. I want to make sure, go one more time through all the people, make sure I didn't miss your direct message. So it's worth the wait because maybe you wouldn't have won. Then you win. If I find it, I realize you sent it and I didn't see it. I'm double checking things. All right? Enjoy.
All right, Jeff Bezos. Let's see what happens.
Amazon.com in a surprise statement pulls out of Long Island City.
Why is Audible sponsoring us? They sponsor everyone. We can get an Audible thing. I'd like some fucking free audiobooks.
Because what you say isn't audible. That's why
I've heard worse.
They're not going to back something that's inaudible. All right, goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like our show, what's another show that people should check out, right?
Dude, we got fucking guys here. Like Michael Bisping has a fucking show here.
He does.
This guy's fucking.
He's a former UFC middleweight champion.
He's to George St. Pierre. That's fucking, if you got to lose to someone, fucking. This is a guy who.
No one can understand what you're saying. Shut your mouth. Please listen to Believe You Me with Michael Bisping and the Puerto Rican rattlesnake Luis J. Gomez. Jesus fucking Christ. Here's a clip.
Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up.
This is Believe You Me on the Gas Digital Network.
Kelvin did well. One thing I have got a bone to pick with Kelvin, motherfucker.
I saw him on an embedded, and he said, "Oh, Bisping said, yeah, you think on a full fight camp you'd really beat me?" And he's like, "I did just beat you on a full fight camp," but I'm like, "No, Kelvin, you're missing the point, motherfucker. I just did a 10-week camp for George St. Pierre. I then got choked out unconscious against George St. Pierre. You know, took a lot of shots. Then I got drunk for 10 days and flew out to fucking China, right, and continued to diet straight again. And I was super skinny, and I'd just been finished. You know, you didn't get 100% Bisping, and I think everybody knows that.
I think, what's the percentage right now? What's the percentage Bisping that he got? Can I say?
Yeah.
I think a 13% Bisping.
Why do you say 13?
You're just not you. Because I think, I'll tell you why. Because I think 14% Bisping beats Kelvin Gastelum.
I appreciate it. You know, 14. You know, when I'm 14%, I do feel good.
You're a monster.
You know,
14%.
13 is a whole different animal.
Basically a woman.
Know?
Basically a woman at 13%.
13%. 13's an unlucky number, Lewis. How are you going to beat anybody when you're 13%? You know, let alone Kelvin fucking Gastelum.
Seriously.
Anyway, you know. Moving on.
If you do the math there, just like a Bet DSI ad, if you do the math there with promo code Bisping, he actually won that fight.
Yeah, exactly. If you break it down the right way and look at it from my perspective, and you add on the percentage that was missing, you detract that from the knockout result in another parallel universe, I won that fight.
You're the fucking heavyweight champion.
Get over yourself, Kelvin. What the fuck's going on?
Kelvin went to sleep in 3 seconds. It was a record-setting knockout. Flying knee, you knocked his head clean off his shoulders.
I was at an 87% deficit. Do you realize how much better that would make me?